Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. And much love going out to the Empowered Harmonizer. I want to zoom in and focus in on a great topic, and that is to understand the covert narcissist as someone who needs to abuse others to feel special. And this definition, which is really the main concept by Dr. Craig Malkin of Harvard Medical School, both a clinical psychiatrist and professor at Harvard Medical School. He really looks at and kind of breaks down and dissects the components of really how to understand if you are dealing with a covert narcissist abuser. And furthermore, I like his focus because he wants those people who have been abused by these others, who need to abuse and exploit others to feel special, to get your focus off of them. Because when you look at trying to determine if they are this, that, or another, and you're trying to categorize them or make sense of what has happened to you, oftentimes the focus stays on them versus, in all the criteria of the disorder versus really, or the trait rather, and versus really looking at how dangerous they can be, and that is their ability to emotionally manipulate and exploit others to their own end. So really that is what makes them dangerous. And before we really get started on the topic today, I want to give a huge shout out to those of you who recently donated to the channel. Thank you so much for your contributions. It really does help to keep the video and content alive here and fresh, and it lets me know that these messages are really making sense, hitting home, and delivering content to a very precise niche. So it is an honor and privilege to be able to assist you in your journey and growth and moving through some oftentimes very difficult, bewildering, and taxing relationships with these types of people. Is because of the fact that it can be so emotionally draining, physically draining, psychologically, spiritually bewildering, that it oftentimes leaves people in a wake of traumatization or wondering what just hit them, what just happened, and then self-blame. Like, why didn't I see this? Why didn't I know this? Why didn't I catch up sooner? So there comes the whole, self-beat-up strategy where you're just trying to beat yourself up after these, relationships, or you're really doubting, or you're trying to justify perhaps even staying in a relationship with this type of person, and your tolerance has become so great for mistreatment that you stay with them for too long. And you might have done this for decades or years upon years for too long, and you're really, hitting at a rock bottom right now. So it's very important to understand that these types of individuals will abuse or manipulate others to feel special. In other words, as Dr. Craig Malkin suggests, one of the key identifiers is what he calls the triple E: their ability to exploit, their ability for entitlement, and their ability for exploitation. Exploitation means basically doing whatever it takes to get whatever it is that they want. So mirroring for money, cheating on the job, low integrity business moves, taking advantage of other family members to get what they want, the very parasitic lifestyle, lying to others to get what they want, manipulating and duping them. And yet, once in a while, everybody does tell a lie. It's just the human condition. But yet, when they do this on a knowing basis and, basically have a deficit of empathy, he calls it exploitation, entitlement, and empathy impairments, So when we look at the, empathy impairments, in other words, they don't have a sort of ability or a selective ability to express empathy to you. In other words, there's an empathy deficit, or what he calls an empathy impairment. And because they're so fixated on their own needs, they have very selective or lowered representations of empathy in relationships. In other words, it can be very selective. When they're not so overwhelmed with their own needs, then they can be very selective or have very stunted or on and off empathy for others. So especially this exploitativeness is very important, because that really is the dangerous side. When they need to take advantage of others, use others, take credit for others' work when it is due to another contributor. In other words, not giving credit to people when they deserve it. Taking advantage of others. Taking their things, taking their belongings, taking their time, taking their affection, with no ability or commitment to give back to that which those people who have given. So they have no intention of really reciprocity or keeping a balanced relationship. You know, there's going to be give and take in relationships where someone might be down or sick or down on their luck or having a bad day. So one, party or one of the partners or of the spouse or whoever it is, may be doing more of the giving and less of the receiving, but then eventually it'll weigh back out. It'll balance itself back out. But it's those gross imbalances oftentimes which are part of the problem, and this is due to the covert narcissist, very stealth, quiet ability to exploit others. And we also look at his other the part of the triple E, which is entitlement, which means basically, acting as if the world owes you, and that everybody must bend to their will. So a sense of entitlement. We see this in very malignant areas or amounts, especially in politics. I can do this, or in business, or in very manipulative relationships. I can do this because I'm the CEO. I can do this because I'm the president. I can do this because I'm the boss. I can do this because I'm the man. I can do this because of the woman. Or I can do this because of, just their pathological sense of entitlement. And if you've ever known somebody like this, I mean, these are the people who will, blow you off for dates. They'll be extremely late. They'll always be the ones to disappoint others and not feel any remorse or regret or sort of a hardship for having disappointed others or mess up other people's schedules or be an inconvenience. These are the people who will do a lot of the taking. They just have a sense of entitlement that can be very kind of sarcastic, but in the state of the covert narcissist, it can be a very sort of quiet, subtle, or unspoken sense of entitlement where they do this abusively in order to feel special. In other words, I don't have to talk to you because I said so, or I don't have to do this because I don't want to, or I can ask, or I can act sardonically or sarcastically and just be, very have just sort of a mean sense of dark humor. Because I'm entitled to my opinion, or I'm entitled to my sense of humor, or this is what I do. I'm entitled to overdrink. I'm entitled to overeat. I'm entitled to overspend. These entitlement will take, many different rays off of that, how it's presented or that concept in the disorder, when it really does become malignant and poses a real problem. I mean, oftentimes the problems that can cause weeks and years to repair. And so if you've ever seen this, it's not like a one-off time where it's like, well, I feel like I'm due a treat today, so I'm going to give myself a treat. It's something that's like ongoing, and it tends to be manipulative or abusive or hurtful to others, and they are acting very irresponsibly. And then the other piece, he talks about the empathy impairments, which I really like that. Sometimes I use the term empathy deficits. He calls it empathy impairment. And basically he also looks at, that these individuals are addicted to feeling special. So it's not that, I feel unique or like I'm a special person, because you do need to have, as Dr. Craig Malkin states, I like what he says, and I feel like I very much am kind of like in this category, but he says that healthy narcissism is depicted by having rose-colored glasses. In other words, a sort of unerring optimism or ability to look on the bright side of things. And the narcissist now, they don't have that. They're addicted to feeling special, so they will do whatever it takes to one up or to feel superior to another. So it's not just to feel like I'm special, I'm unique, I have my own character, I have my own heritage, I have my own ethnicity, things like that, which you might think of as that make you unique or special, or you, or I'm a great seamstress, or I'm a great lover, or I'm a great cook, or whatever it is that makes you special. Your passion absolutely makes you special. But when they need to abuse others to feel special, in other words, it's the way that they walk, they talk, the way that they put people down or put people off, that can be a huge indicator. And he furthermore states that the more addicted the narcissist is to feeling special, the more they are likely to become disordered, and displaying the core of what he calls pathological narcissism. Pathological meaning, causing disease, causing disruption. And the key thing to realize is that inherently, inside, this is a problem, is that inside these people are grossly insecure, so they need to exploit, they need to act by entitlement, and they do need to have empathy impairment in order, they exercise these negative traits in order to feel special. So it's not that they're being special through the rose-colored glasses, or their ability to fight or work or be positive even in the face of great frustration or obstacles, to really work through things. It's basically that these people then are the ones that, when they get into control and they get into power, and then they abuse by these 3 E's, as we've just discussed. This is when it becomes a real problem, because you can have very, wonderful, special people who are really powerful, who are great performers, like your Justin Timberlake, great performer, very talented, very special, unique human being. But to my knowledge, he's not like the typical exploitative type of person. He's not, he might have, a lot of charisma, hoopsa, things you might think would be narcissistic, but he doesn't really have a lot of that bad press that you see. So it's like you can feel special, but it's really the key component is when we start getting into the pathology, where you're taking advantage of others through these core deficits or impairments. And the other thing is, and we're going to talk about in a future video, is that, and I spoke about this before, is that they have attachment disorder. In other words, they don't have an ability to be secure in their attachment or in their relationship to others. They're not able to feel comfortable depending on another, and oftentimes they will, elbow people out when you try to be dependable or depended on. In other words, that's really, you try to have a quote-unquote real relationship and have interdependence, and that's when the narcissist will be like, yep, I'm jumping ship, I'm out of here, I'm hitting the highway, and you're like, what did I do wrong? And you just tried to be dependable, you just try to be reliable, and that oftentimes is what scares the narcissist away. It's not because you were too needy, too clingy, or something of that nature. You were just trying to have a normal, natural relationship, but these are the very components that oftentimes lead to the commitment-phobic and, really alienating others, is because they are not comfortable being level. To be able to depend on another, you have to have trust, and you have to be able to be level to people. And it is this quality which is, I believe, uncomfortable to the narcissist. They are so addicted to feeling special that they need to take advantage of others to keep, raising themselves up, and then keeping a large gap between those around them. And so if you have, encountered this, realize that it is, often best that you've discovered this now. As they say, better late than never, because now you know what you're dealing with, and furthermore, what you want, what you deserve. And then it's just kind of like, brush yourself off and like, let's move it on. Let's use the tools, let's get them into play, and let's get it moving, because it's time for you to really repair and, you know, have a recovery day. Enjoy your moving forward. Even though you might have some bottom out days or where you continue to beat yourself up, don't stay in that mode for too long. See what you can do to just snap out of it and just say, oh, you know, okay, it is what it is. I'm not going back. I am going forward. And also resist the hovering. You really need to be clear and solid in your reason why the relationship had problems, so you will not be tempted by a hover attempt. You can do this. You got it now. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.